The Circular Economy of Rags, Li Lu's Early Years and the Compounding of Human Capital. Part 3. Moving the Mountain of Social Stigma. Rehabilitation and the Sent-Down Youth. By the mid-1970s, the political winds in China were shifting slightly. Some intellectuals who had been purged were being rehabilitated, allowed to return to work, albeit often in lower positions. This is what happens to Li Lu's parents. However, for the youth, the up to the mountains and down to the countryside movement was still in effect. Millions of urban youth, like the Wang's daughter, were forced to move to rural areas to learn from the peasants. This effectively ended their education and separated them from their families. Avoiding this fate was the primary goal of almost every urban family. Let's get started with this chapter. When I was 7 or 8, my parents were being rehabilitated. My father was transferred to the Coal Research Institute, and my mother to the Orchard Commune. We even had a small room. Though it was no bigger than a room in the student dormitory, my family finally had a space of its own. Every few weeks my mother would come in from the commune and we would get together. I called the days when we were together the days I have a home. But I felt awkward with my parents. They were like strangers to me. I had never called them Papa and Mama, and I found it hard to do so now. They seemed so serious and often just looked at each other in silence, or they would talk about things that I could not understand. My sixth sense told me to be silent, to observe them, and stop being the undisciplined boy of the streets. I could see that my parents hated my wildness. Sometimes when they heard about my exploits, they would scold or punish me. It surprised me that they could have so much to say, and I admired their ability to talk for such a long time without stopping. Pause. This isn't just emotional distance, it's misaligned development. Li Lu has grown up optimizing for survival, not attachment, while his parents expect obedience and innocence that no longer exist. Each side reads the other incorrectly. They see defiance where there is adaptation. He sees coldness where there is helplessness. The separation doesn't end when they reunite. It hardens into a permanent gap in language, trust, and instinct. Back to the book. Sometimes when my father left town on business, he took me with him. That was interesting. Once, in summer, he took me to Beijing. I remember I wore a black jacket and a pair of blue pants with 2 big patches on them. In Beijing, I felt I had come to a truly strange place. There were so many people. I didn't know where I was, I just followed my father. We left the noisy railway station and got on a huge bus, much bigger than the buses in Tangshan. Everything was new to me. As we rode, I looked out and there was Tiananmen Square. It seemed to stretch out endlessly. When we walked in the square, it seemed boundless. I had my picture taken there. I remember my father told me not to move. A man stood in front of me, and I heard a click. I was very nervous. After Dapa died, I moved back to my parents' home. I was almost 9. There was still a gap between us, but Dapa's death had helped me mature. I started to adapt to my new environment. My father often went away on business, leaving me with friends or relatives. So far, I had lived in at least 9 families. I often saw Dama. Emotionally hers was still my real family, but she was too poor to provide for me. I felt superfluous, being shunted from house to house, and gradually inferior. Perhaps the world did not welcome me. I wanted to grow up fast so I could make money and support Dama. One day, my father's institute told him that he would be sent away from Tangshan for 6 months. My mother was still living in the Orchard Commune, and none of my parents' friends could take me in for so long. One day at school, Teacher Wang said to me, "I hear you're leaving us. Do you still want to learn to read and write?" She was the only teacher in whose class I did not make trouble. She was very patient, never scolded anyone. Every child, she believed, must learn to read and so taught us. I told her I wanted to study. She said, "If that's the case, you should not leave here. You can live in my home if your family cannot take care of you." I was surprised. Wang had never met my parents. She had taught me for only about a year, and besides, I was not a good student. Why should she want to help me? I was puzzled, but I stayed with her for several months. Wang had 3 children. The oldest was a girl who was about to graduate from middle school and go to the countryside. The second was a boy of about my age, and the third a mischievous little girl. Her husband worked as a clerk in the Bureau of Electricity. He was a quiet, honest person. He did much of the housework, which was highly unusual in Chinese families. Their room was divided into 3 compartments, one for the parents, another for Big Sister, and the third for us 3 little ones. Sometimes the boards were taken away and we had more space. There was a low table on the kang where we children crawled around reading and writing. I had to learn 10 characters every day. Pause. Teacher Wang embodies moral authority without force. Her patience, insistence on learning, and willingness to protect a child at personal cost reflect Confucian values that survived not because they were sanctioned, but because individuals quietly lived them. In a system that rewarded fear and obedience, her kindness was an act of resistance. Back to the book, then something happened which abruptly changed this life. It started with a fight. After Dapa died, I hated fighting, and Teacher Wang often told me not to fight, and especially not to fight Fatty, who was 2 or 3 years older than me and much bigger. Fatty's father was the chief of the Bureau of Electricity, a very influential post. Nobody dared to offend him. Fatty lived on the east side of the road, where children had better food and clothing. He led the east side children and often bullied us. Because I was told not to fight, I avoided playing on the road. Under the influence of Teacher Wang, I had begun to love reading and liked to stay at home and read on the kang. One day I came home early from school. Since no one was there, I was bored. But outside, some neighborhood children were throwing stones at a target, so I went out to join them. A pretty little girl with pigtails stood nearby. Her family, I knew, was very poor and humble. Her father sold ice lollies, her mother sewed clothes for others, and the little girl had dropped out of school to help her father sell the lollies. She made no attempt to join in our game, but merely stood watching us. When the game was in full swing, Fatty came up behind the girl and pulled her pigtails. She struggled to get loose, and her head hit Fatty's face. He was furious, dragging the girl along by her hair. When she screamed in pain, I went up to Fatty, slapped his face, and said, "Let go of her." Startled, he did so, and the girl ran away crying. Fatty was momentarily stunned. Nobody had ever dared to touch him. Outraged at my boldness, he pushed me over. I was not as strong as he was, and had not intended to start a fight, but he would not let me go, and 3 of his followers helped hold me down while he hit me in the mouth. I bit his hand. As he recoiled, I threw him off, seized a stone, and began hitting him on the head. Fatty's followers were scared stiff. They had never really had to fight. Bullies that they were, they usually just hit their victims and left. They had hardly expected a skinny boy like me to fight so fiercely and effectively, and they ran away, abandoning their leader. Fatty begged me to release him. I left him there. Pause. Power here is relational, not individual. The fight isn't between 2 boys, it's between 2 hierarchies. In a closed system, every conflict cascades upward through work units, family status, and political leverage. Challenging a bully means challenging the structure that protects him, and the structure always hits back harder. Back to the book. Later, at home, even though my mouth hurt terribly where Fatty had hit it, I behaved as if nothing had happened. Then at dusk, I heard a lot of people coming, with Fatty crying among them. Quickly, I hid in the woodshed. I knew what was in store for me if they saw me. Through a crack in the wall, I could see the scene in the street. At the head of the crowd was Fatty's mother, a shrew of a woman. She had her son on one side and dragged the little girl along on the other. The little girl's parents were there too, and the head of the local safety committee. Fatty's mother shouted abuse at Teacher Wang and her husband, who worked under Fatty's father in the town government. She shouted, "What kind of boy have you people taken in? You've taken in a wild dog, a savage bastard. He has bullied this little girl without reason." And when my son tried to stop him, Li Lu hit him with a stone. She shoved Fatty forward, looking pathetic with a big white bandage on his head. Fatty's mother cursed every member of Teacher Wang's family and slapped Uncle Wang's face. My teacher and Uncle Wang could only swallow their anger. They didn't know the true story, and it was clear that Fatty had been hurt. The shrew warned them that when she found me, she would have me locked up in prison and throw away the key. I was clearly so incorrigible that I was probably a political reactionary as well, and they'd never let me out. Listening in the woodshed, I was terrified. It was getting dark now, and I slipped onto the roof of the house, afraid they might search for me inside. Just as Uncle Wang was about to say that I had been there only a few minutes before, my teacher said, "We haven't seen him all afternoon. Who knows where he has gone? I'll see if I can find him." The crowd looked around for me for a time, but gradually left. Now Uncle Wang vented his anger on my teacher. "You're the one who took in such a boy. Look what disaster he has brought to our family. You said he was a good boy, that he had a sense of justice. But look what's happened. He not only bullied the little girl, but injured the boy who was trying to protect her. How can we keep a child like this? Why do you still protect him? Where is he? He can't have gone far. My teacher kept quiet. After a while she said, I know this child. He is not the kind of boy who would bully others. On the roof, I was listening with tears in my eyes. I know him. I also know the other boy and his parents, and you do too. Ever since the child came to our home, he has behaved well. Don't you know what happened to his parents? What he needs now is warmth, not abuse. We must find him, even if it means missing supper. We must never let those people catch him and put him in prison. That would be the end of him. I was ready to come down from the roof and save them the trouble of searching when I heard Uncle Wang's voice. If we do find him, we'll have to send him away somewhere else. He's bad luck. We'll all be done for if he stays one more day. Don't you realize? Our daughter has just graduated from middle school, and I've almost talked the boss into letting her stay in the city to work in a factory. But with all this happening, he won't do a thing for her, just to spite us for what happened to his son, and she'll have to go to the countryside. Pause. This scene exposes how accusation becomes lethal when power is stacked vertically. Fatty's mother doesn't argue facts. She performs outrage, weaponizes injury, and escalates the conflict upward to committees, police, prison. Truth is irrelevant once hierarchy is engaged. From hiding, Lilu watches the cost of his existence compound in real time. Teacher Wang risks her reputation and safety to shield him, while Uncle Wang calculates the collateral damage with brutal clarity. The moment Uncle Wang mentions his daughter, the dilemma crystallizes. Keeping Lilu doesn't just invite trouble, it trades one child's future for another's. This is where Lilu understands something devastating. Innocence offers no protection, justice has no standing, and love itself can become dangerous in an enclosed system. Survival now requires subtraction. Back to the book. The Wangs returned from their fruitless search, my teacher hoarse from calling for me and Uncle Wang no longer criticizing me. They kept saying, he's such a good boy, we can't let that gang get their hands on him. I could hold out no longer and cried, I'm here, I'm up here. Joyfully, they helped me down from the roof. I was so stiff with cold I could hardly move. Wiping her tears, Teacher Wang told her husband to brew some ginger tea for me. I cried and cried, unembarrassed. I felt so warm and protected in the house with them. After drinking the ginger tea, I gradually calmed down and told the whole story of what had happened. Uncle Wang was furious when he heard the truth, but we still didn't know what to do. Next morning, my teacher got up early. Uncle Wang had gone to work. She said to me, let's go and apologize to Fatty and his family. If she had said it the night before, perhaps I would have done so. But now, in the morning, I said it was not my fault and I would not apologize. She looked very sad and said, all right, if you don't want to go, we won't go. But let me tell you a story. Do you remember the story Chairman Mao told us in his essay? Once upon a time, there was an old man. This old man had a wife and a good obedient son. Every day they went out to cultivate a small piece of land and lived a good life. But one thing troubled them. There was a big mountain in front of their house, right outside their door. Every day they would pass the mountain on their way to the field. The old man thought, I have suffered from this, but I don't care that much now. Yet my children will have to climb the mountain every day. I should move the mountain. So he decided to move the mountain. My teacher said, if you are determined to move the mountain, you'll have to move it piece by piece. You can't do it all at once. I understood and said, let's go and apologize to Fatty teacher. Now my teacher was embarrassed. She felt deeply sorry for me. She knew I had been wronged. Her elder daughter would soon graduate from junior middle school, and my teacher was trying to get her a job in the city. She depended on Fatty's family to help with this. If she failed, her daughter would be sent to the countryside. If I didn't apologize, she would lose any chance of keeping her daughter in the city. Teacher Wang then went out and spent half her monthly salary on fruit, powdered milk, and other special foods. Delicacies she would never think of buying for her own family. We took the presents with us and went to see Fatty. When his mother saw me, her eyes immediately became two fireballs. She jumped at me and jabbed at my forehead with her finger. So you are Lilu, you are Lilu. She grabbed me and hit me again. How I hated her. My face was burning with rage. At any other time, I would have bitten the fat hand that was grabbing my collar. But I remembered my teacher's story and suppressed my anger. My teacher handed over the presents and asked how Fatty was. He was lying in bed, swathed in bandages. He started crying, but without tears. When Teacher Wang reached out to comfort him, Fatty's mother immediately pushed her hand away and said, "Don't you touch him. He's already seriously injured. You'll just hurt him more." Teacher Wang's face turned red to the neck. She could only offer more apologies, to which Fatty's mother retorted, "Your husband is such a good man, but look what you've done. How could you have taken in a criminal like this boy? Do you know what his family background is? His father could be a spy, or a landlord, or a capitalist." My heart skipped a beat, but I quickly realized that she could not really know anything about my father. It was just angry talk. She kept saying, "How could you have kept this bastard in your home?" My teacher's face went from blue to purple as she apologized. "We're sorry. His parents are good people, revolutionary cadres. They are very busy, so I am helping to raise him. It's all my fault. He is a good boy. I was careless this time so that he made a mistake. Please take your anger out on me." At this moment, Fatty started wailing again. I felt unhappy that Teacher Wang was being abused because of me. I stepped forward and said, "No, it was not my teacher's fault. It was all my doing. It was all my fault. I am sorry, Auntie. I'm sorry, Brother Fatty. I apologize to you. I'll kneel down before you." I knelt down. With tears in her eyes, my teacher immediately pulled me up and said, "It was all my fault. I didn't educate him in the right way." Fatty's mother was dumbfounded. She didn't expect me to do this. Fatty's screaming turned into laughter. Jumping on his bed, he called to me, "Hey boy, come over here." I went over to him. "Will you be my horse when we play War of Knights?" he asked. "Yes," I said, "I will." He always wanted to be the knight and never the horse. And as he was cruel, he always picked a thin little boy to be his horse. None of the horses could stand his weight, so he always lost in the battle. Then he would get angry and blame the horse and beat it. Now he wanted me, and I had said I would be his horse so his mother could no longer accuse me of being a class enemy or the son of a class enemy. "All right," she said. "I forgive you this time. I have already told old Lou, the police inspector, to investigate this case and look into the boy's history. I told old Lou if it turned out that the boy belonged to the enemy class, he should be sent to a reformatory. Now you've come and apologized today and shown a correct attitude. My son also said that he could forgive you. All right, you can go now." Pause. This is the most brutal moral compression in the entire childhood. Teacher Wang's story about moving the mountain sounds like patience and wisdom. But here it is translated into something far harsher: voluntary humiliation as a survival tactic. Everyone in the room understands the truth. Lilu was right, Fatty was wrong, but truth has no leverage against hierarchy. Apology is not reconciliation. It is ritual submission meant to satisfy power and halt escalation. When Lilu kneels, he is not confessing guilt, he is absorbing blame to shield the Wangs. Agreeing to be the horse is the final seal on that bargain. He accepts a role of degradation, so the accusation of class enemy cannot be activated. My feelings were complicated. I suppressed my anger and comforted myself by thinking that I was moving the mountain bit by bit. I said in my heart, "Wait till I grow up, Fatty. See how I will settle accounts with you." As we came out of the house, my teacher sighed. She wiped tears from her eyes. We did not say a word. I knew how heavy her heart was. We walked in the sunlight, aching in silence. I felt such loneliness, indescribable bitterness, helplessness, but also hope, understanding, and love. After the death of my Dapa and the fight with Fatty, it seemed that my childhood was over. I was no longer carefree. I lost all interest in war games. I wanted to see and learn so many things. I started to observe, study, and understand people. I became more and more reserved and introverted. I was beginning to understand that mountains could only be moved little by little. This ends Chapter 3. This is Avi. Like and subscribe. On to the next.